Well, I feel a bit ashamed to say it's the only album in the universe that would benefit from a total audio overhaul. Strangely enough, although this release of Dusk in Your Embrace has put it back by a few months, Sony have taken over the task of re-releasing a lot of the MFM product. I believe they're doing Anathema and Paradise Lost as we speak. They're also tackling From the Cradle to Enslave and Cruelty of the Beast, and that was the first thing Joel Death, or Joel Death, sounds like an 80s splash band, hit upon was the fact that the drums did sound a little arsey. And so he's actually undergone a mix of the album, which we've heard, and we've put our comments backward and forward over it. It sounds phenomenal, in fact. Really brought it up to date, beefed the drums up, which beefed, more bass presence because of that, plus more guitars. But we've endeavoured to keep the atmosphere, so obviously lots of reverb, keyboards, and what have you. Isn't just totally clinical. And we've retained the original drum sound as well, which is really important. So that will be coming out, I think, February or March next year. So it's a total overhaul of Cruelty and the Beast. I don't know if they've actually tackled the bonus tracks, but they're definitely doing the album, and it sounds great. We won't let it go out unless it sounds even better than we've heard already. Yeah, it has changed. Not my personal way of writing, because I always use a quill and a candle. I always write by night and sort of sit up till about 5 in the morning. So that hasn't changed at all. The way I approach my lyrics is exactly the same as when we started working on the Principle of Evil Made Flesh back in like 1993. I've had plenty of lyrics that were destined for songs. One in particular stands out. Actually, on the Devilman album, the new album, one of the last Cradle album called Achingly Beautiful, which I don't think will ever see the light of day. And that was a case of, not that the song was rubbish, it was just that it wasn't as developed as all the other songs, and I saw a life in it that I don't think everybody else did. And when the push came to shove, we only had a certain amount of time in the studio to actually record the album, and rather than spread our butter too thinly over too much white bread, we decided to drop that particular song, much to my disdain. So the lyrics are still there. Unfortunately, they were quite involved, very much in the vein of a sort of vampire love story, like a gothic romance. So they couldn't really be prized apart and put next to another song unless that other song was exactly the same as the first song, us not being a different song at all. It'd be Dear Amanda Gallus for sure. I would say King Diamond, but we've done a song with King Diamond. It doesn't really count because it's a cover of Devil Woman by Cliff Richard. But Dear Amanda Gallus is someone that we've always wanted to work with. And she was up for working for Cradle at one point, but then she fell quite seriously ill, so that moment kind of passed. But yes, definitely. I believe Rotting Christ have done quite a bit of work with her recently, and I definitely heard some of her singing on a few films of late. So yeah, that would be great. The thing with playing live is you go where people ask you to go, so if you're not asked, then you can't go. And we've been asked to play all kinds of places across the world, and we've managed to do them. Other places like South Africa, the offer has been there like up 10 times over, but when push, when it's come to the crunch, the promoters are sort of bailed at the last moment. And the same with England. I think about 7 or 8 years ago we did a full UK tour playing some really small places, and some of the places were great, some of the places were literally pathetic, only playing to like 180 or 90 people, and it just really wasn't worth the while. We are planning to. I mean, recently we did a gig in Chester, which was sold out, which was great. And there was a plan to go further afield. I mean, Devon are planning at the end of the year to do a full European and British tour, which is actually in the pipeline as we speak. But for Cradle, yeah, it's basically about being asked, really. We'll play anywhere, go anywhere. And I think that's the same for any band nowadays. It's just about logistics, cost, and it's okay when you see 10 people on a website going, oh yes, you're going to come to Maine in New England. But when it comes down to it, you know, you can't play in front of 10 people and fly halfway across the world with a whole crew, visa costs, etc., etc. It has to be part of a bigger package. And some people want you to play, you know, like Shitsville, Texas, and 2 people are like, oh, I really want you to play there, but again, you know, you can't bankrupt yourself. Like I said, we'll play anyway. I think that speaks for most bands. That everybody wants to do gigs and everybody wants to please as many of their fans as they can.